A really big welcome to the Salon Chat Room podcast with Angeline Hayden, founder of Midas Customer Service Training and Salon Solutions, and Kerry Humphreys, founder of Locate Your Look. Please help us welcome our guests for today. We are sure you'll be suitably entertained and learn something new and inspiring about our amazing industry. Good morning. We would like to introduce our guest for today. A big welcome, please, to Gemma Hall, Operations Director at Easi Hairdressing Academy, talking about apprentices and apprenticeships. So, hi everybody, and welcome to the Salon Chat Room podcast. Kerry Humphreys from Locate Your Look, and myself, Angeline Hayden from Midas Customer Service Training and Salon Solutions. So today we have Gemma Hall from Easi Hairdressing Academy. So welcome, Gemma. We are so delighted to have you with us. So for our audience, could you just give us a brief overview of your career and how you got into being with Easi Hairdressing Academy?
Of course, not probably what you're expecting, but actually I'm not a hairdresser. So I've always been around hairdressing. My mum actually had a salon when I was 10 years old with my aunt, and my aunt is a hairdresser. So I spent many a Saturday sweeping the floor, dressed as an elf on Christmas Eve, handing out Christmas mince pies, all of that good stuff. But I could not cut in a straight line for love nor money. Unfortunately, I'm not blessed with the those skills. So my career path, I was working in London up in HR and got a bit fed up with it all. And my mum had actually set up Easi Hairdressing Academy. So she'd run it for quite a few years. Wow. And she said, Gem, come and work with me. And I was like, oh, I don't want to work with my mum. But gave it a try. I went part-time, so done and was training customer service, interestingly. Yeah, so came and done some customer service training with school kids that were still at school, but perhaps were disengaged at school. Yeah. And just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the company. I fell in love with the industry. And yeah, haven't looked back. And that was back in 2008. I joined Easi, and then mum retired, and gentle nudge.
Natural progression for you to take over, Gemma.
And here we are. And it's amazing. Easi has changed and evolved a lot over the sort of last 10 years, as has the whole sector. So yeah, that's kind of what got me here. So I'm quite envious of hairdressers because I've got all the knowledge. Like I could probably pass all the exams, but you wouldn't want me to do your hair.
Well, you're clearly very good at what you do, so you need to concentrate on that. And yeah, Gemma, obviously we were talking about the apprenticeship program, and we know by speaking to Kerry, who's an ex-salon owner as well, that there has been a 13% drop in apprenticeships going forward for training and jobs in salons over the last couple of years. Could you give your audience maybe your thoughts on why you think that is?
I think there's a few things, to be honest. Back when they raised the participation age, so the government made it quite publicly said, right, everyone has to stay in education until they're 18. I think there was a lot of confusion there, and people didn't realise that apprenticeships were included. So we definitely saw a drop back when that came in. And then I think since then, the demographic of the young people now, we see a lot more social anxiety, and what we're seeing is that they tend to stick together. And because as a group, they will go, oh, we're all going to go to sixth form. As friends, within that group setting, they'll all go to sixth form, or they'll all go to their local college. Even though the chances are they'll do different subjects and won't actually spend that time together, we're definitely seeing a lot more social anxiety. And I think that's playing a part. And then hairdressing, because it is fashion led, it does ebb and flow. So we tend to see peaks and troughs and I see it at careers events. So every year I'll either be inundated with people interested in the hair and beauty sector or very few. So it does, it does go with the flow. But I think there's also been less engagement from salons. I think we're seeing a point where some salons going, actually, I don't know that I want to take on an apprentice. And that's, you know, and who knows what the impact of COVID is going to be longer term. Hopefully a positive impact. But definitely we've seen some salons go, do you know what? I'm not going to take an apprentice this year. So I think there's multiple reasons.
That is generally, do you think that generally, because a lot of people now work self-employed, so a lot of salons don't generally employ people, so they sort of kind of, why am I going to put an effort into sort of kind of training staff and stuff like that? Absolutely. A lot of members on Locate Your Look have tried taking apprentices on. It hasn't worked out for one reason or another, so just gave up on it. So what would you say to them salons that actually don't do that now? How would you encourage them salons to turn around and say, come on, make an effort, and this is our future, this is the future of the industry. If we don't participate in taking people like that on us apprenticeships, we're not going to have any future hairdressers. Or
exactly that, Kerry, exactly that. And I have to be careful because I can get on my soapbox, but one of the biggest problems I hear salons say is, anyone know a stylist? I'm looking for a stylist, can't find a stylist. And it's because we've seen that slow decline in growing our own. And, you know, with the greatest respect, if someone's done a full-time hairdressing course, they haven't got that salon experience. So they're not necessarily stylist ready. You know, they still need that life experience on the shop floor. So it is absolutely fundamental to the future of our industry that we have apprenticeships. But I think one of the things we've got to change our mindset around them. They have changed dramatically. The learner that's coming into the salon has changed dramatically. And I think there's still residual attitude to apprentices, and that they I think we've got to have a cultural shift as to what an apprentice actually is and what they can offer your salon. I think, you know, I see a lot of salons just like, oh well, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, and then they've got attitude, or they've got this, or they've got that. And I think we need to change the conversation about what it means to have an apprentice, what that commitment is, but also what they can bring. You know, I've had far too many conversations with salon owners or salon managers who are like, well, when I was an apprentice, I didn't even go to the toilet without asking permission. And I'm like, and that's great, but that's not the world we're in anymore. No. And young people have got something really unique and wonderful to offer salons. I really believe that. But it has to be harnessed. And if they just feel that they are not valued and they are the bottom of the priority ladder, then they don't tolerate that. Actually, they won't put up with that. They want investment. They want to know what's in it for them, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing if it's done in the right way. You know, it needs to,
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. When I was apprentice for 3 years to do my apprentices in hairdressing, but all my college, all my training, I had to do in my own time. So they supplied the trainer. But I didn't get paid to come and be trained. No. So the apprentices now want all them hours of training paid for. So it's a sort of kind of.
To be fair, the government have put that in place. The government have made that the rule. You know, that's obviously the young people.
That was a good shift, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the government have said all apprenticeship training has to be in paid working hours. So an apprenticeship now, at least 20% of contracted hours have to be in training, and it has to be paid. I would argue that actually, when you start out, probably 80% of your time is in training, because you're watching, listening, you know, learning constantly. So I think that 20% is kind of irrelevant, because if you're capturing it, you probably cover that 20% minimum within the first 6 months of being an apprentice. And I think you've hit the nail on the head though, Kerry. We've got to, like I say, have that cultural shift about what we think an apprenticeship should be and how we think an apprentice should feel, and whether they should be grateful or they don't know. They don't know what happened 5 years ago, 2 years ago, because they only know today, when they left school, right now, how they're treated.
Also, sorry. I also think that we need to educate salons. So salons need to be looking not today, not tomorrow, not next week, but 2 years ahead. And they have the ability to be able to nurture and mold somebody young to be able to fit in with their salon. Because sometimes when you get a junior stylist who arrives at your salon, they've already had training. You don't know what the training is. So far better to get somebody who is young and impressionable so that you can then train them to be the stylist that your salon wants and needs. Maybe that's a shift as well for the salons that we need to be educating the salons on as well.
But that's exactly where you guys come in, because as a salon owner myself, I was all into apprentice because I did an apprenticeship. So I'm all into that. And the amount of things I learned actually being apprentice was, like you said, you learn from the minute you go in to every day you learn something new by just watching. And that was part of my training. I had to stand there and watch every day. Somebody doing a haircut, somebody doing a perm, somebody doing a colour, and they would ask you questions and stuff like that. But nowadays, I also think for salon owners, it's really difficult to find good apprentices. I find that they have an attitude that they're doing you the favour and not the other way round. And a bad employee can make or break a salon. So like you guys, like Angeline, customer service is
fundamental.
That's the first thing that apprentices should learn. So I feel that offering services like these would make salons a little bit more forthcoming to take apprentices on.
I agree. One thing I would say though, sorry, Kerry, I think what we need to do is go, actually, being an employer of an apprentice is a responsibility. And I think you almost need to, if you're using a training provider, you can rely on them for the fundamental training, but you also, I think, need to carve out a set amount of time to grow that young person. Because reality is they don't have the same skill set leaving school that perhaps you or I would have had leaving school. And actually they're, without talking down to these young people at all, but there's a bit around resilience, there's a bit around personal boundaries, those knockbacks, the difficult customer, and having sort of like blocking out half an hour at the end of each week to just give that apprentice your undivided attention to say, how's this week gone? What have you found tough? Look, I know we had Mrs. Smith in and she was a bit of a pain. How did you find that? Has it affected you? There was a very difficult conversation going on. A client's coming who's not very well. There's so much around resilience and mental health that we expect these 16-year-olds to just pick up and carry, and without giving them the tools. And I think for them to feel valued and to have a voice is so important to 16-year-olds now. They don't, it's not, sit and be quiet, speak when be spoken to. They need to feel heard. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They've got a valuable contribution. And I was having a conversation with someone else yesterday, actually, about difficult conversations. And the, things like racism, gender, diversity, those kind of sexuality, those kind of the conversations, a lot of stylists who are more experienced might be really worried about offending people. Actually, if you're talking to a 16-year-old, the chances are they know someone who is gender fluid or who is bisexual. They're a lot more comfortable in those conversations. So I still think they've got something to share and to teach us, and something we can learn from them. But I think they need to feel heard. They need to feel valued, not just turn up, just sweep the floor, can you make a cup of tea? They need to be welcomed into the team. And that's not about lots of time. It's about giving them your undivided attention for half an hour a week. I think that makes a huge difference.
The important thing is for the industry and the future of the industry is for salon owners to get together with training providers like yourselves. So I just feel Locate Your Look has got some amazing salon owners on there that provide huge, great training for their staff. They're not big fan of colleges because they feel that they don't generally get what they need for their apprentices. So they feel that they do a lot of the work themselves. But there is outsourcers of academies that provide a lot more. And I feel that salons working with the likes of you guys and say, this is what we offer, and this is what we can do. And then for people like myself, Locate Alert can provide you the salons that are worth talking to, that are prepared to put the effort in and prepared to sort of take apprentice on and take them under their wing and teach them what they need to be taught.
Yeah.
So,
and I think salons are in the, sorry, Kerry, salons are in the driving seat, you know, and I think so often a salon will use the college they trained with or the training provider that they trained with. It's a bit like colour houses, isn't it? We, as hairdressers, I think as an industry, we're not great at change. We kind of like to stick with what we're familiar with. And so I think salons is really important. Look around, you know, what are your options for your apprentices? What private training providers are there? What colleges are there? You know, because there'll be good colleges, not so good. There'll be good training providers and not so good. So go and meet them. The number of salons who, over the course of the years, I've worked with who've never even stepped foot in our centre, and I think we're representing you. You know, we're actually being paid to represent your business. You need to make sure we're on the same page, you know. So I really encourage employers to work closely with their provider, because otherwise they're not going to do what you want because they don't know what you want. But again, not investing lots of time. You know, it doesn't need to be a huge chunk of your job or your time, but just dedicated so you know it's going to happen, and it's focused.
I think anybody out there listening to you now, Gemma, any salon owner that is maybe contemplating having an apprentice, I think they are going to be so much better educated just by what you're saying today. Because to be honest with you, as a salon owner myself, I love to get in apprentices. They were a great asset to the salon. They really were. And when times are tough, you can rely on them. And some of them really like to be relied on. But also, I know that as Easi Hairdressing Academy, you have quite a lot to do with kind of the wider community, parents and guardians, and you're quite proactive in offering support. So obviously, that's really important as well for the apprentice to know that their parents or guardians are also in there, you know, with that support. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it varies depending on the young person. Yeah. Some, obviously, we are very much, when we take them on, we try and find as much about their background as possible, and purely so that we can put in the right support for them. Now, some of them, in fact, probably most of them don't have involvement from parents, but those that do or need it can. Sometimes we have to actually ask mums to take a step back, actually.
They're still their babies.
So there's been a few, you know, talking about difficult conversations, time to cut the apron string. So sometimes you actually have to ask parents to just kind of let them loose a little bit. But it's, you know, I genuinely believe we're not just turning this young person into a hairdresser. We are there to support, as a team, you know, their family, their employer, and us as a training provider, to help them become a part of the community. And like I said, understand how to handle those difficult conversations in a salon, and not just, you know, I'd love to see our industry get the respect and recognition it deserves. And actually, COVID's done a little bit of that for us. But I think we're our own worst enemy.
How important you are. But
I think we're our own worst enemy. In the salon, you know, we're talking about what's on telly or whatever. And actually, certainly when we have clients come into the college, they go, oh God, I've learned so much today, because they're listening to the training. And I think if we're at the salon talking, you know, we always tell our apprentices how many of them do it is another matter, but we always tell them, you should be telling your client, showing your client the porosity test, the elasticity test, actually show them what you're doing and what it's showing you, and therefore why you're recommending certain, you know, treatments, or educate them. And actually they go, oh,
they like to be involved.
Than I thought.
And
we have that power. You know, the public are in our chair. So I think 9 out of 10 clients actually love it. They love hearing and finding out about the science of hairdressing.
Gemma, sorry, Kerry, go on.
I was just going to say, with today's generation, I just feel that they want to run before they can walk. So how do
I agree.
Kind of take that sort of level, sort of kind of.
I completely agree. They're not a generation who wait for anything. You know, we've got Amazon Prime, we've got everything at our fingertips. So I think recognizing that, accepting that, and helping them with that is really important, rather than us going, oh, they don't really, you know, we've got to go, right, okay. And so, for example, becoming a hairdresser is a long journey, isn't it? Let's be honest, it's not something that happens in 5 minutes. So right at interview, we warn them, around about 9 months, you're going to want to quit. Let me remember this conversation, because you're going to be like, I'm still cleaning, I'm not a hairdresser yet. So we warn them of those things. We warn them about what to expect. We warn their parents that that's going to happen as well. But what we've also found is by having small sort of achievements and like whether it's little competitions or anything, small goals, so keeping along that long journey is really important, and reminding them. So over lockdown, we've been doing career aspiration chats with people. So we've been interviewing, and all people that have been associated with the academy, which is lovely, but people who've worked on cruise ships, in film, television, international colour technicians, all sorts of different things, and reminding them, look, why did you get into this? You know, you wanted to work on shoe ships. Well, check out this Q&A with Shauna about working on the ships and try. I think millennials, if you want, get a bit of a bad rap, and I totally get why, because when you're not of that generation, you can see the frustrations. But I think if we try and put ourselves into their shoes, they can't help having grown up in a generation of convenience. So what we've got to do is go, right, how can I work with them to help them deal with those frustrations? Because actually, that's really hard. You know, when you are used to having whatever you want, whenever you want it, like, don't get me started on people paying for GCSE results. Like, that, honestly, I won't go there. But that's it. It's like, what's in it for me? Yeah. Well, why should I do that? What am I going to get? Well, you're going to get a career at the end of your arms that stays with you for life. So I do agree, Kerry, but I think we have to change our mentality. We can't hold it against them, because it's not their fault. And what we've got to do is go, well, God, poor them that they're not used to self-motivation. Poor them that they're not used to having that sense of satisfaction when they've worked really hard for something. Poor them, they've missed out loads.
Consideration and understanding, isn't it, Gemma?
But it's not easy. It's not, you know, I say it like, oh, just flip your mindset. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Sticking with, you were talking about this amazing program that you've just done about connecting them to people who have maybe gone in different areas of the industry. And that is incredible, because then they can see that actually at the end of their 2 years or 3 years or whatever, that they can think further even now. So what 3 tips would you give to a young professional who may be considering branching out into competitive or photographic work?
For me, it's a focus, and no one's going to do it for you. That's number one. You know, no one's just going to come and knock on your door and go, you're amazing. So you've got to go out there and make it happen. So first thing I would do is say yes to any opportunity. Right. If you are following Hairdressers Journal and there's a competition, even if you know you're not going to win, enter it anyway. The more experience you get. So just say yes to every opportunity that is available to you. And then pick 2 or 3 people on Instagram or whatever who you want their job. Like, so find the people whose job you want, and then just like, don't stalk them, because we're not allowed, but professionally stalk them. So be on their Instagram, direct message them. You know, there's nothing wrong with being tenacious and being a bit of a pain in the bum and just making yourself known. So message them, ask them questions, you know, volunteer. That's the other thing. Like you said at the beginning, Kerry, be prepared to put yourself out, because if you're not, then no, things aren't going to happen. So there's, you know, you've got the Club Star, you've got with Fellowship, you've got so many different opportunities out there, but they don't land in your lap. You have to go and find them. And the beauty of now is you haven't got to go through Hairdressers Journal, you know, when it lands on the salon mat. You can follow them on social media. You can follow your favorite stylist, and it doesn't matter if they're a celebrity stylist or not. It's, who do you go, oh yeah, I'd like her job, or I'd like his job. that would be my main tips. That was 3. Sorry.
Fantastic.
Why Locate Your Look sort of kind of brought together a mentoring program, because I feel that people that have went through a journey in the industry, because there's plenty of sort of kind of hurdles you go across to get start as an apprenticeship and go on cruise shipping or salon owner, or so I just decided that there wasn't that outsource of support for me when I was an apprentice, that if I didn't speak to people in the salon, there was nobody else that I could speak to. So I just felt that, like you said, if you see somebody, you think, oh, I'd really like their job. Well, get them to mentor you and turn around and give you advice. How did you get there? What did you do to achieve it? I just think it's an amazing thing. People don't understand how good having a mentor is.
No. And hairdressing, I think by nature, I say we, I know I said I'm not a hairdresser, but I feel like I am. I think
part of the family.
You probably know more than most.
But I think hairdressers are people pleasers. They like to, and that's a curse and a blessing, because I think, we've seen in lockdown that clients can take the mickey, and when you're a people pleaser, you try and say yes when, perhaps sometimes you've got to put your own personal boundaries. So I think mentoring, I think it gives something back. You get a sense of, oh, I'm giving something back. I think there's something really lovely about that. And then for the young person, like I said, that's definitely something you have to do in your own time. That's not what's in it for me. They are the people who have really got that passion and drive. And, not everyone has that, but not everyone has to have that. Some people are, they want to be a stylist in their local salon, and that's a fantastic career path. So just speak to your local stylists, so it's finding the right mentor, as you said, Kerry, and it's invaluable.
Yeah, I agree.
Brilliant. So talking about mentoring, I'm one of Kerry's mentors for exceptional customer service in the salon and the client's journey through the salon. And I've also spoken to you, Gemma, haven't I, to do some mentoring with your learners. So I'm very much looking forward to doing that as well. But, if anybody is out there and they are a hairstylist, and they are also a salon member of Locate Your Look, then obviously there's a great partnership that mentors and learners can have together. Because, it's really, really important for mentors to also learn about how they can be leaders. So one other question, Gemma, that we would like to ask, because it's really important out there for the educational side of an apprenticeship, is, as we know, the endpoint assessment, or the EPA, module has been a recent addition to the apprenticeship framework. Is this a welcomed addition to the apprenticeship? What's your view on that?
100%, absolutely.
Okay.
It's fantastic for the apprentice. It's what the apprenticeship's needed for a little while, if I'm honest. So for those people that might not know what that is, so basically with an old apprenticeship, people would get signed off on their cut, their colour, they have their last one signed off, they're done. Now they still have that same process, but they then have to have an endpoint assessment, which is a full day, basically running a column for the day with an independent assessor. So it's not someone from the college or the training provider, it's someone from the awarded body. So like we use City and Guilds. They come out, and the young, or the apprentice, and they might not be young, the apprentice has to they have to do a restyle haircut. So we kind of class the level 2 now as a level 2.5, because there's a little bit more of the level 3 has been pulled down into it, which is fantastic. So they have to do a restyle haircut. They have to do 2 creative colours, one of which needs to be highlights or lowlights, so they need to change depth and tone. And then the other is a creative colour. A round brush blow dry above shoulder, and a hair up with at least 80% of the hair dressed up, and 3 different dressing and setting techniques. So there's a lot for them to cover in that day. And they're also they're assessed on their technical skills, but they're also orally questioned on why they've chosen different colours, etc., why they use the different cutting techniques, what cutting techniques they used. And they're assessed on their customer service, their behaviours, their organisation, their hygiene, health and safety, the whole thing. So by doing that EPA, we're kind of signing off that they are shop floor ready at a basic level, but they can deal with most things that walk through the door. It's for us, it's absolutely what was needed. It gives you that distinction or pass level as well. So it also gives learners the opportunity to strive for something rather than them all walking away with the exact same certificate, no matter how much energy, effort or creativity they put in. They can now create a bit of differentiation, which is wonderful. And for them, there's a huge sense of achievement. We deliver flowers for our EPA achievers. So once when we get the results, we turn up at their salon with a bunch of flowers, like to just say well done. Because I tell you, when Kerry talked about, that sense of everything now, that is it. That's sense. Honestly, they cry, like they are so overwhelmed because it's been such an incredibly rewarding journey for them.
And also for the salon.
Do you know what? It's just lovely. They've worked hard and they've actually achieved something all on their own. They've had a team of support, but they have achieved it. And like you say, that's not something they have very often anymore. And it's lovely. It's so good. And then level 3, the great thing about the new level 3 is amazing. It's also got an endpoint assessment, but they now get to create their own collection. So level 3 is all about creativity and figuring out who they are as a stylist, putting together the collection doesn't have to be avant-garde. It can be high street. It doesn't, it's commercial, but building their own portfolio, their own professional collection. Our level 3 is just beautiful now. It's really about coming into your own as a stylist rather than developing still those foundations, because you're still doing that, you're still developing your technical skills, but it's just got so much flavour to it. It's lovely. And again, it's got that endpoint assessment at the end, which I just think it creates such a bigger sense of achievement for the young person or the apprentice. I've got to stop saying young person.
Really, really good, I think, because there's not two stylists the same. There's not two stylists want to go the same direction. So I think that's well needed.
I think also for salon owners to hear this, they are thinking, okay, so previously we would have had a young person, a learner, who have done their 2 years and then they're not ready for the salon. So it's a pressure on the salon owner or manager or lead stylist to be able to bring them into the salon, because that's where the learning starts, really, isn't it? And then have the responsibility of maybe checking if they're ready, because they don't know if they're ready or not, because they haven't gone through that physical training program with them. So this endpoint assessment, I think, is going to be music to people's ears, salon owners who actually don't know anything about it. So I think that's amazing. Very good.
We have salon owners who are like expectant parents calling us on the day of the endpoint assessment. So we have 3 learners at a time doing it, and any news, how are they getting on, is everything going okay? It's lovely because they care. They've been on this 2-year journey with them, and it's really lovely. I mean, we're super lucky. We work with lots of really fantastic salons, we are really, really lucky. But endpoint assessment is a really welcome addition as far as we're concerned. For everybody, for all parties, I think it has real benefits.
Amazing. Gemma Hall, thank you so much. You've come to us from Easi Hairdressing Academy. I have learnt so much today, and I'm sure our audience will also have not only learnt, but they'll also be more inspired now to be able to make that journey with their new apprentice. So thank you, Gemma Hall, so much.
Welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much, Gemma. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Will do. A big thank you to our guests today for giving up their time to share their own salon industry journeys. Don't forget to sign up to our channels so you don't miss out on the amazing guests we have lined up just for you. Big love from Kerry Humphreys, founder of Locate Your Look, and Angeline Hayden, founder of Midas Customer Service Training and Salon Solutions. See you next time on the Salon Chat Room podcast.